What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel. And the number one piece of feedback as it relates to the Dynasty experience that I've seen in the comments of my videos during this first week of early access launch, and cheap plug, thank you guys very much for all the love and support for all those videos that have been coming. And anything that I've been sharing on my X has, I don't think my channel hasn't been in a position like I feel like where we are right now in like a couple. It's been a minute. And why not? Year 15 for old C4 on YouTube. Why not strap the rock to the back? Sky's the limit. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for rocking with the channel. If it is your first time stopping by, all that cheesy YouTuber stuff, I would appreciate a little subscribe. And for the YouTube robots, comments and stuff, if you enjoy these slider sets, and give me your own experience with the College Football 26 transfer portal now that the game has fully launched. But the number one piece of feedback that I have been seeing is that transfer portal is way too hard. We need some slider sets. Well, so I decided to share, based off of the feedback, that so many people were worried that when they finally got their hands on College Football 26, they were not going to enjoy the transfer portal experience that was being showcased in all this early capture content, which is kind of look like this, where you're seeing upwards of 10 5-star level talents hit the transfer portal, where, if we're going to be completely honest, are we seeing, Dylan Stewart really hitting the transfer portal in real life? Are we seeing Leonard Moore, Colin Simmons, Arch Manning hitting the transfer portal in real life? I think when this happens and you get a god roll of a transfer portal class, it should feel very unique, very special. But the reality is, on default slider settings, this tends to happen and be a common occurrence more often than not. I would say probably 1 in 3 years you would see a portal roll like this, and that's certainly not ideal. I decided to personally make my own slider set for the transfer portal based off of, I did this for 10 years. I've done that loop where you just go from year 1 of starting a brand new dynasty to seeing the very first transfer portal with the big name players that are in college football, the Arch Mannings, DJ Lagways, Dylan Stewarts, Jeremiah Smith, etc., etc. That loop I've done probably 20 times already. I'm in the top 1% of people that have completed that loop, which I feel gives me a little bit of experience to kind of see what I do and don't like and where I can make the adjustments. So I'm going to give you guys quickly the slider set now that you could just go check out and not wait to the end of the classic YouTuber video. Just get the damn sliders. I'm going to kind of explain where I came to these numbers for, and give you guys at least what I'm using for my Dynasty experience and justify why I think this is in a better spot if you're looking for truly a more realistic Dynasty experience. So the first thing we're going to look at is max transfers per team. By default, that's at 20. I'm not adjusting this whatsoever. I've done 3 rebuilds on our channel. We've done Florida, Vandy, and Hawaii. That covers like the entirety of the spectrum of college football. We are Florida, which, okay, well, maybe. Let me just have this. Florida's blue chip program, right? And we had 20 guys leave. Made sense. A lot of the guys that were leaving, outside DJ Lagway, which I'm still upset about, was like realistic guys that are depth guys that probably want to play. They're going to leave like they do in real life. And our Vandy, I think we lost about a dozen, did not max out at 20. We had a winning culture there. We overachieved, and a lot of guys were happy. So I think that felt pretty decent. And then for our Hawaii Warriors 1-star dynasty that we dropped last night, we had a full 20 players leave. When you're a small program like that, that's brutal. But that's also the nature of the beast. All of our good guys are probably going to want to leave and see if they can have a chance to go into a bigger program and potentially getting drafted in the NFL. Give them the best opportunity at that next stage of their football careers. It's going to happen. But you might think 20 is pretty punishing when you're a cupcake program, but go look at the real data. Hawaii in real life lost, I think, 21 players in the transfer portal last year. So me losing 20 is right in line with where it's at in real life. So I personally have this stayed at default. I think it's in a good spot. So the first slider setting, I'm just going to reference what we've already shown in this video, is the CPU player transfer chance. I have nuked it from 55 down to 50. I think, honestly, you could leave it at 55 and you'd be fine. I don't think this needs a whole lot of tweaking. My justification, based off just what I just showed you guys, where it's 7 5-star guys hitting the portal, guys that if you want to be and try to have the most realistic dynasty spot, is Jeremiah Smith hitting the portal? Is Arch Manning hitting the portal? Is Dylan Stewart hitting the portal? Is Colin Simmons hitting the portal? Probably not. I think that's very, very unrealistic. Maybe DJ Lagway, if Florida sucks again, he can hit the portal. Maybe if a coach gets fired from one of these teams, they can hit the portal. And I'm not saying that having an insane 7 to 10 5-star player transfer portal shouldn't happen. I think when that happens, though, it should be rare. It should feel like you just got a god roll. It should feel like it's going to make you so much more excited to play your Dynasty because of those players that you might be able to go target in the trade sport. It should be the same feeling that when you look at your recruiting class from high school, you get 5 guys that have elite dev trait. It should feel like when you're playing Madden, you draft a superstar X Factor, and then you have like your excitement level has gone up 50% for that Dynasty because you had something truly special and unique happen in your Dynasty. I felt like at 55, that huge, insane, once-in-a-lifetime transfer portal roll was happening a little too often. I would say 1 in 3 seasons, you were getting a roll like that with fairly unreasonable players hitting the transfer portal. I found just adjusting it from 55 down to 50 made it a little bit more 3 to 5 stars. And then every now and again, you'd get something that, you know, who knows? Maybe a coach did get fired. Maybe one of these teams in Sim randomly underperformed and you'd have those guys hit the portal. But it just wasn't as common getting that god roll when I had it at 55. So that is where I have it for my personal preference. Now the big slider setting, and again, once I'm done kind of explaining this, I'm going to do a sim season and show you where these sliders kind of have the game playing at. 55, again, if you want to embrace the chaos, by all means, keep it at default. Through testing, I found like 38 was kind of like 40, and they did 38, and I had a little bit better experience at 38, but I'd say 38 to 40 would be a good spot to have it. Because right now, I think there is a deal breaker that's not working as intended on a game. And when we go through the sim season, you're going to see the most common deal breaker for the players that might be the most unreasonable to hit the transfer portal is playing style. Now, I think there are completely valid deal breakers that should be more popular and should carry more weight. I think pro potential should be one. If you're a small school program, you have a very good player. I was Vandy, right? Vandy's, you know, we're on the way up. We're working our way up. But we had an 84 sophomore star dev safety that I was like, oh, yes, this guy here, look at the skill caps. He's going to be a 90-some player. If he stays here, he's going to be a first-rounder. The reality is, at Vandy, if you're not winning right away, that 84 sophomore is probably going to want to go to a bigger program that has higher pro potential chance for him to make the next level. That is a challenge that even with this at 38, you are still going to be at risk of losing your best players if you're a smaller program. But when you have, you know, playing time, if you have depth that just isn't seeing the field, those are guys that 100% should be hitting the transfer portal. But I think when you're a small school program and you have this at default 55, you're going to have players that have bogus deal breakers like playing style, like championship contender, even though you're on Hawaii. What are we talking about here? This should not be a deal breaker. They still may happen, but if it's at default 55, those guys are going to have extremely low persuasion chances. Like there's barely no chance. You're peeing in the wind and it's coming back on you if you think you can use your persuasion to get those extremely low players to not leave via the portal. I feel like at 38, it gives you a probability that some of those guys just outright won't hit the portal. And if they do, on those bogus reasons, which unrealistically probably shouldn't be applied to your program, you're going to have at least a chance that it's going to be maybe a medium persuasion chance versus it being an extremely low. Like having it at 38 is not by any way, shape, or form going to make the transfer portal less forgiving, but I think it gives you a fighting chance so that it doesn't feel like every year at season's end you're getting a goddamn death penalty applied and losing all your good players every single year. So because it was my first rebuild that I did on the channel for College Football 26, we're just going to take over Florida with a brand new coach. We're not going to have any of the potential buffs that using an existing Billy Napier may have to have players, you know, maybe decide not to go in the portal or persuasion chances. We're going to go base default with the Gators. I'm going to sim to the end of the season, and I think you're going to see that this slider set gives you a little bit more realistic chance at competing and not getting that proverbial death penalty at the end of the season. And if all goes to plan, we're not going to have an insane amount of ridiculous 5 stars hitting the portal that realistically wouldn't ever really hit the portal. I'll just say right now, quick snapshot. I don't want to dig through the video, re-download it. If you remember my Florida Gators rebuild, I did default sliders. There was zero I could do to keep DJ Lagway from hitting the transfer portal. We're at least keeping DJ Lagway, which is good. Sliders are working enjoyably at minimum for the user. Looking at the players that are hitting the portal, a lot of them make sense. Still punishing to a degree, right? We have Miles Graham having a deal breaker. We have LJ McCray, former 5-star, with a deal breaker. Trayon Webb, starting running back, with a deal breaker. The big one would be Trey Wilson, the wide receiver 1, probably one of the most talented skill position players Florida's had in the last decade, hitting the transfer portal. This one makes a little sense for Wilson. I'm not going to be able to complain too much because it's pro potential. Kind of is what it is. But what you're going to get with these sliders, again, you're still getting the challenge of players that, you know, you'd like to think, even if you're a diehard Gator fan, like Miles Graham, legacy player, probably wouldn't want to hit the portal. LJ McCray, again, 5-star. Would be cool to keep him. Like, it's annoying that he has exposed himself to potentially, leaving the team via the portal. But these slider sets are not supposed to nerf the portal. These slider sets aren't even really supposed to make it easier. It's to make it more realistic. If these sliders were on default, see the persuasion chance? It's low. You're going to have to fight. But if they were default, you would see not really any highs and mediums, especially with a level 0 coach. Maybe if you have and took over an existing coach that has some skill abilities that are going to help you, these would all be extremely low. You would have basically no chance. I would probably get 1 of 8 of these available persuasion chances. But because we've adjusted the sliders a little bit, it gives you a more realistic shot with the persuasion chance. Secondly, I think the reason why you should, even if you're against anti-sliders and you think somehow subliminally I'm making it easier, playing style is a broken deal breaker in the game, in my opinion. Playing style is something where it's all about, obviously, your production, right? It's based off of, like, that's how I kept losing DJ Legway way back in the Florida Gators rebuild that we dropped early in the week, where it's just like, oh, he needs me to throw for, you know, whatever. He wants to be top 15 school in passing yards. And so it's like, is that really going to be a deal breaker for some of these players? And the fact that this is the one that commonly, if you have a player that's hitting the portal that maybe seems unrealistic, unreasonable, I don't even want to say 9 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10, it is a playing style deal breaker. It is not a somewhat valid deal breaker like pro potential. It is not a somewhat valid deal breaker like, another one would be playing time, for example. Luckily, we don't really have any playing time right now. But playing style, in my opinion, needs to be nerfed. And these sliders combat what I think is a broken deal breaker. So let's just see. Poops and giggles. Can we convince some of these guys? So we got Trey Wilson. Yes. LJ McCray, 5-star. It's a low. Yes. We got Miles Graham, very low. Don't love that. Failed. So there we go. I lost one of our best players. Trayon Webb, starting running back, pro potential. He's gone because that's a D. We'll go with Cameron James, starting pass rusher. He's gone. It's a D. So, like, it's not making it so it's automatic that you keep going. It just gives you a fighting chance. And that's all I want. I want sliders to be tuned to give you a chance so it doesn't always feel like you're being punished for the sake of just punishment every single year. Now we have the transfer portal, and great example, because, again, it still can be RNG. You never really know how the performance of other teams, like if Ohio State and Texas had a down year, you might see realistic players hit. But we got 3 instead of the 7. And I think realistically, you could see Keldrick Falk, one of the best DNs in college football. Auburn underperforms. They're probably going to have a lot of difficulty retaining him next season. Colin Simmons is probably kind of unrealistic one. And sometimes you could swap it out. Dylan Stewart will sometimes be here. Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, that are all like, I guess if a team has an off year, one team has an off year, teams can be jumping ship. Or if like Sark got fired from Texas, you could have some of those top players hit. You got Seton, if Colorado can't bounce back post-life, Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, they're probably going to have a lot of trouble retaining Jordan Seton. But this, in my opinion, is a little more realistic. And this is what you get more consistently with the slider set at 50 versus 55. And then you still have that chance every now and again to get that 6, 7, 8, 5-star roll every now and again. But to make it feel special, to make it feel unique, to make it feel, let's get insanely hyped in this dynasty now because this roll happened. Not look for that roll and becomes the expectation every single year. I don't know. Again, different strokes, different folks. You could want it on default. You could want that chaos every single season. But in my opinion, if you're trying to strive for realism, this is probably a little bit more realistic what you would see because there's still plenty of 4-stars that are high-level talents that are going to be available to you. Isaac Brown, Goy Parrish, like 4-stars that hit the portal are often high 80s. You could even get 4-stars that are in the 90s. Like, there are still a lot of talent, but in terms of like the truly elite of the elite, it shouldn't be close to 10, in my opinion. And that's what you get with these sliders. Just one last little thing, because I think this whole debate comes down to you need these sliders because I think playing style is a broken deal breaker. I think the argument could be made. If you look at these 3 5-stars, right? Seton could hit because Colorado could suck. Championship contender, deal breaker, makes sense. Keldrick Falk, if Auburn underperforms again, Championship contender deal breaker. Makes sense. Colin Simmons is probably the one guy that you go, I don't really think he'd leave. I think for him being one of the best players, Texas, even on a down year as a sophomore, if he's not declaring for the league, Texas can probably run it back and be pretty good. What do we think his deal breaker is for the one guy that may be the most unrealistic hit the portal? Is it pro potential? Is it championship contender? Is it playing time? Or is it the broken ass playing style freaking deal breaker? So I think a set of sliders right now kind of combat something that hopefully gets, I mean, maybe this is working as intended for the devs. In my opinion, though, the fact that it's so often the #1 common denominator, anytime there's something you may think like that's insane, that's stupid type transfer portal, leads me to believe that it could be nerfed, and that is the feedback that I am providing. I think a lot of people should get behind it. It's like, hey, can we look at deal breaker playing style as something that could get tweaked a little bit? You know, maybe buff other deal breakers, nerf it a little bit. I don't know necessarily what the fix is, but hopefully if you guys in your Dynasty modes can check out and utilize these slider sets, you guys get something that's a little bit more realistic. That's all I want to try to do, share the love and give you guys the funnest college football 26 Dynasty experience possible. So again, cheap, cheesy YouTuber stuff. If you do enjoy this video, if you are going to go try these slider sets, if you've used them and you want to come back and say, hey, they worked out, thank you very much, all I ask for in return, hit that little subscribe button. And hey, I would appreciate for the YouTube robots, as this channel is always in a 15-year freaking battle with the YouTube algorithm to promote and recommend my videos, a little comment, a little like video, it goes a long way, and I very much appreciate it. That's all I ask for in return. That'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow, the plan is to have episode 2, second full season of our Hawaii Warriors Dynasty Rebuild series. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out, love ya, have a good one.